Never did I think I'd find myself here, trapped in the back seat of my husband's elegant car, awkwardly perched on my stepson's lap, feeling the weight of unspoken tension between us. Charles didn't even glance my way as he urged me to slip inside. His voice steady yet distant, leaving a flutter of something unspoken between us. His voice, as always, held a chilling indifference that pierced through the air, leaving a bittersweet ache in her heart. His gaze was fixed ahead, the tension between them palpable. His Bluetooth headset clung to him, an uninvited reminder of the world he couldn't fully escape. The leather seats felt like a secret, cool against my skin, while the bumpy ride sent shivers through me, each subtle shift of William's body igniting a forbidden thrill beneath me. William remained silent, his eyes speaking volumes of what could never be uttered. Neither did I. But I could sense the electric tension between us, a closeness that left me breathless, too intimate for comfort, or perhaps too intoxicating for how right it felt. I forced a laugh, my heart racing as I whispered something about his dad needing a bigger car. His soft laughter lingered in the air, a deep sound that hinted at unspoken feelings, a secret shared between them in that fleeting moment. It felt like a distant memory, the sound of laughter echoing through these walls, a bittersweet reminder of what once was. I moved just a bit, desperate to create some distance, but the cramped space offered no escape. Charles drove on, unaware of the tempest of feelings swirling in the shadows, longing to break free. In that fleeting instant, unspoken yet profound, a spark ignited within me. A tension I hadn't known was lying dormant began to stretch its limbs. My heart raced as I caught sight of William's hand lingering on the door handle. His long fingers curled around mine, nails perfectly trimmed, a touch that sent shivers down my spine. We stood frozen, hearts racing, each breath a silent plea to remain in this fragile moment, terrified of what a single shift could unravel. Later that night, after we returned home, Charles went straight into his office. He left without a whisper of good night. That's how it had always been, lingering in the shadows. He was there just a breath away, yet felt like a ghost in my own home. Meals were silent. Their connection felt like a distant dream, untouched and unfulfilled. Conversations had become transactions, cold, factual, necessary. I had learned to live with the ache of his emotional distance. I told myself it was just marriage. I told myself I was lucky, but I couldn't ignore how being near William made me feel something. Noticed, alive, slightly nervous in a way I hadn't felt in years. It wasn't love, not even lust, just awareness. A reminder that I was still a woman, that my body still lingered in the shadows, yearning to be seen, that someone could still look at me and find a reason to linger in my eyes, even when the world whispers that we shouldn't. I caught a glimpse of William through the kitchen window the next morning, his bare skin glistening in the soft light as he sipped coffee on the porch. Our eyes met and my heart raced. His gaze held hers, unyielding and intense. That evening, Charles slipped in after a long business dinner, his presence barely registering as he vanished into the shadows of the bedroom. William and I found ourselves alone in the living room, the air thick with unspoken words and lingering glances. He leaned in, his voice low and inviting, offering to help me tidy the kitchen, a moment that felt charged with unspoken tension. As we stood close together, the air crackled with everything we dared not say. Our arms brushed against each other, a fleeting moment that sent shivers down my spine. Neither of us dared to look away. I slipped under the covers, the weight of the world fading away, yet my heart raced with the thrill of what could never be. Charles lay there, lost in dreams, his gentle snores filling the quiet room with an air of intimacy. I lay there in the dark, the silence wrapping around me like a secret, heavy and electric. I was lost in a whirlwind of feelings I couldn't quite grasp. Yet, I found myself unable to erase that fleeting moment in the car from my mind. Intimacy. Whispers of longing. It was as if Charles was afraid to confront his own reflection, a silent rebellion against the truth that lay within. The memory of that car ride clung to her heart, a bittersweet echo that refused to fade. I convinced myself it was harmless, merely a twist of fate. But everything changed after that moment. William felt a stirring within him, a heightened sense of awareness that pulled at his heartstrings. Or perhaps it was me who began to see it all, the unspoken moments that lingered between us. He would always find excuses to stay in the kitchen while I cooked, his presence a sweet temptation I couldn't resist. Whispers grew into secrets shared in the shadows. He'd lean in, his fingers brushing against hers as he offered to help fold laundry or reach something from a high shelf, the air thick with unspoken tension. I felt the pull, the thrill of crossing lines, and I couldn't bring myself to stop. I couldn't resist the pull of that familiarity. I longed to be seen once more. He gazed at me as if I was everything he ever wanted. It had been ages since my husband had shown me that kind of affection. I began to change the way I dressed. Whispers of change. Delicate fabrics hugging my skin, the gentle embrace of fitted tops, and the intoxicating scent of a long-forgotten perfume swirling around me. Nothing too blatant, but just enough to awaken the real me, beyond the mask I wore. His heart belonged to another. William's secret longing for his stepmother. I began to sense the stirrings of something deeper within me. One night, Charles stumbled through the door, the scent of scotch and unspoken words clinging to him like a shadow. He collapsed onto the couch, surrendering to the weight of his exhaustion. William sat in the living room, headphones on, lost in his studies, unaware of the world around him. I handed him a glass of water, our fingers brushing briefly. He met my gaze, a soft thank you escaping his lips, and in that moment, everything felt electric and unspoken. His gaze held a weight that left me breathless, the unspoken tension hanging in the air like a secret we both knew but dared not acknowledge. That night I couldn't sleep, haunted by the intensity of that gaze. Not in shame. Not just yet. Only a whirlwind of emotions. Days melted into one another. Charles was a ghost, haunting the edges of her heart, leaving her yearning for a warmth that never came. William was everything his father failed to be. A quiet light in the shadows of longing. He saw the little things, the way my hair fell differently, how the pantry took on a new shape, the shadows under my eyes that whispered of sleepless nights. He recalled the way I savored my tea, a secret shared between us tinged with longing. He inquired about my day, his voice a soft whisper that lingered in the air, stirring something deep within me. I tried to convince myself it meant nothing at all. I convinced myself it was merely his kindness. That evening, under the fading light, we found ourselves alone in the backyard. Inside, Charles's voice echoed, a mix of frustration and urgency as he shouted into the phone, oblivious to the world around him. As I knelt in the flower bed, my fingers brushed against the earth, a bittersweet ache stirring within me. William stepped into my world, his presence a spark of warmth in the chill of the evening. Our fingers brushed against the earth, igniting a spark that felt both thrilling and wrong. He lingered, his touch electric, as if the world around them had faded into nothingness. Neither did I. He finally pulled away, but his gaze lingered, filled with something unspoken. I recognized that gaze. It was the familiar spark I had felt back in college, the one that hinted at a kiss or something deeper, yet unspoken. He held back, the longing burning quietly within him. Yet it lingered in the shadows. We both felt it deep down. Then guilt began to blossom, not because of what had transpired, but because I feared the moment would end. I began crafting reasons to steer clear of Charles. I could claim exhaustion or a throbbing pain in my head. I swear I wasn't lying. Exhaustion weighed heavily on my heart. Just not in the way he had always imagined. William had always played it safe, never daring to step beyond the boundaries that kept him grounded. He shouldn't have to. What we shared was unspoken, hidden in the pauses of our conversations, in the way our eyes met and held, in the electric silence that enveloped us whenever we found ourselves alone together. And each night, I found myself questioning if it would be simpler if he did. It unfolded on a night when the air was thick with unspoken desires. Charles had escaped for a weekend conference, leaving behind a world that felt too heavy to bear. The house was too quiet, a weight in the air that felt almost suffocating. I brewed the tea, then lingered at the kitchen table, lost in thought, my gaze drifting into the emptiness around me. William stepped in, clad in a hoodie and sweatpants, his hair still glistening from the shower. He froze the moment our eyes met. His voice was soft, laced with concern, as he leaned closer and asked if I was okay. I whispered that I didn't know. That felt like the truest thing I'd said to anyone in ages. He took a seat opposite me, the air thick with unspoken words. The silence between us held a weight, a tension that felt both thrilling and dangerous. It was electric. A shiver raced down my spine, igniting a thrill I knew I shouldn't embrace. I whispered that I was weary of solitude, of fading into the background, of wearing a mask that hid the truth. My voice trembled, a fragile whisper in the air. He remained silent, his gaze heavy with unspoken words. That was all it took. His fingers brushed against my skin, sending a shiver through me. Not suggestive. Just hold on tight. My heart raced, a silent rebellion against reason. I stayed right there, heart racing. Just happened against all odds. Silence hung between them, heavy with unspoken feelings. Just the warmth of our bodies, gentle sighs escaping in the quiet. A connection we both felt, yet dared not acknowledge. He rose with a quiet intensity, circling the table, and I surrendered to the moment. He stepped nearer, and the quiet enveloped us, whispering secrets we were too afraid to speak. I gazed into his eyes, a mix of fear and longing swirling within me, terrified of the choice I was about to make, yet even more frightened by the truth of my desire. I felt the weight of time, a longing for something lost, something that could never be reclaimed. I felt alive in a way that scared me, felt understood, craved. The moments that once made my heart race with the thrill of existence. His hands hovered, hesitant yet filled with longing, as if he were bracing for my rejection. I couldn't. He stepped nearer, and the quiet enveloped us, whispering secrets we were too afraid to share. Each second spent with him awakened emotions I had buried deep within for far too long. It was tender and lingering. Silence enveloped them, thick with unspoken desires that unraveled with each fleeting moment. Afterward, we lay side by side in silence, the air thick with unspoken words, the room feeling colder than I ever recalled. My gaze fell away, unable to meet his eyes. He held back, the air thick with unspoken words and longing. Silence hung between them, heavy with unspoken words and longing. Just existing in this moment, heart racing, burdened, playful yet daring, genuine. In silence, he slipped into his clothes, the weight of unspoken words hanging between them, before disappearing into the night. I lingered in the stillness, trapped in a space that had lost its warmth, feeling the weight of what once was. My body felt like a stranger, a vessel of unspoken desires. My thoughts were spinning, but it wasn't regret that fueled them. Not just yet. A jolt of unexpected emotion. This was a choice, a spark igniting in the shadows, where desire danced dangerously close to the edge. It was a choice made with a heart full of longing. I stepped into it, heart racing, fully aware of the risks that lay ahead. It only deepened the ache. I lay there, heart racing, lost in thoughts of what this could mean, and what might follow. I couldn't help but imagine the moment Charles discovers the truth. His face remained hidden, a secret I longed to uncover. That was the most unexpected moment. I felt a thrill in that moment, a rush that overshadowed any fear. Felt like my heart was frozen. I had crossed a line that would forever change everything. Yet, all I could focus on was the way William gazed at me, as if I still held a spark worth chasing. This moment would haunt me, lingering in the shadows of my heart. In that instant, the truth I had hidden away crashed over me like a tidal wave, impossible to ignore any longer. Each day passed like a hollow echo devoid of warmth. I drifted through the house, a shadow in my own existence. Charles returned, his lips brushed against my cheek, a fleeting touch that felt both tender and distant. He unpacked his suitcase, his words spilling out about meetings I never wanted to hear, filling the space between us with unspoken tension. I played my part, nodding at the right moments, smiling when needed, then slipped away to my room, leaving him alone with his thoughts and the glow of the screen. He remained blissfully unaware of the change. Or perhaps he knew all along and simply decided to remain silent. William turned away from me. Not harshly, just with a tender touch. He slipped out for class before dawn, returning only when the stars blinked awake, each excuse a fragile barrier keeping us apart. We never dared to mention that night. Not even a fleeting glance. But now, everything between us felt like a secret, a fragile thread binding our hearts in a world that said we shouldn't. The tension had become a familiar ache in the air. In the stillness that followed, everything felt weighty, as if the air itself held secrets too precious to share. It left me wondering if it had all been a beautiful illusion. Perhaps I did. Perhaps my longing to experience something real again led me to believe it truly meant something. I tried to convince myself to move on. Let's just forget it ever occurred. Embrace the same sweet illusion that Charles had perfected. Yet it lingered in every moment. How I averted my gaze from William, how I recoiled from Charles's gentle caress, how the quiet wrapped around us, heavy with the weight of unspoken guilt. One afternoon I returned home and spotted a glass from William's room nestled in the dishwasher, a small reminder of moments we shared, yet tinged with an unspoken longing. Only that. Everything feels so ordinary, yet my heart races with a secret longing. But it crashed over me like a tide. I gazed at it, heart racing, as if it concealed secrets meant only for us. Shame washed over me, a warm tide creeping up my neck, igniting a fire I couldn't ignore. But it wasn't about the risk of being discovered. I felt lost, a stranger to myself, caught in a whirlwind of emotions I couldn't grasp. Charles began to sense the growing chasm between us. He leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper, asking if something was wrong. I whispered that I was weary. He nodded, pressed his lips gently to my forehead, and whispered for me to rest, his voice laced with a tenderness that felt both comforting and dangerously intimate. That was everything. No pressure, no chasing. It was supposed to simplify everything. Instead, it left me feeling empty inside. The distance between us felt insurmountable now, haunted by unspoken words, yet ignited by a single night of raw honesty. One night, William slipped into the kitchen, drawn by the need for water, unaware of the electric tension lingering in the air. I was already there, heart racing, caught in a moment that felt both thrilling and wrong. We lingered just inches away, silence wrapping around us like a secret. I whispered, wondering if he felt any remorse for that fateful night. He shook his head, whispered a soft no, leaving a lingering silence that spoke volumes. I longed to know if it held any significance for him, but I kept silent. My heart raced, dreading the truth that lay ahead, no matter what it might be. As dawn broke, he vanished, leaving only a whisper of what could have been. His room was pristine, the bed perfectly made, yet it felt empty. No note, no farewell to linger in the air. I whispered to Charles that he must have slipped away to campus ahead of time. He never questioned it. As I lingered on the porch, solitude wrapped around me like a shroud. My gaze drifted down the empty street, yearning for a presence that felt just out of reach. I waited, heart racing, for a car to arrive, a message to light up my screen, anything to shatter the heavy stillness around me. Nothing ever happened. Time marched on, indifferent to their secret. I sat there, heart heavy with the weight of my choices, the price I paid, and the way everything shifted in its wake. I held back the tears. I held my breath, heart racing, but I didn't panic. I merely lingered in the shadows. For the first time in years, I felt lost, unsure of how to navigate the life I had built with the person I had become.